pedestrians with his vehicle on the Westminster Bridge, then tried to attack Parliament. Police shot the man to death. This hour, 5, including the man, are dead, more than 40 injured. Joining us from Washington, Nile Gardiner, director of the Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom at the Heritage Foundation. So Scotland Yard is investigating, whether he had accomplices, this terrorist. And they also say he's tied to international Islamic terrorism. No surprise, I saw a picture of the man. He's got the beard, he looks, and then there was a caption that he's a homegrown British jihadist. We don't know if that's accurate. Things change all the time. But my question to you is, this has become an almost commonplace in London. London is almost ground zero for these terror attacks. Why?
Well, London really is the front line, actually, in Europe, alongside, I think, Paris and Berlin, in regard to the wider war against Islamist terrorism. And over the last 3 years, the British authorities have thwarted no less than 13 major terror attacks in the United Kingdom. There are at least 500 active counter-terror investigations being conducted at this time. So the scale of the threat is absolutely huge. But there's no doubt about it that, we are sort of reaping the whirlwind in the UK and in Europe of decades of mass immigration policies. And now, of course, authorities are responding to concerted attacks across or concerted attempts to attack cities across Europe at this stage. And it was almost inevitable that we would see this kind of attack today in London. But certainly I think that, the British government is determined to defeat the Islamist terror threat. This is a war. This is not a law and order.
Okay, but what you're saying,
this is a global
Gardiner,
conflict. Yeah.
You're saying that because Britain for a long time has had very liberal immigration policies and has attracted millions of people from the Middle East, and they've come, and they've legally come, many of them, because it's once you get to Europe, there's no borders, and you can go where you want to go if you have a valid passport. That because of the numbers, you're going to have some bad guys who are going to be tied into ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Is that pretty much why you're seeing the attacks?
I think that's a big part of it, and certainly ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and a whole array of Islamist terrorist organizations have sought to recruit individuals in the United Kingdom and across Europe, especially young men, and have radicalized these individuals. Several hundred Britons have traveled, in fact, to Iraq and Syria in recent years to fight with ISIS. About 3,000 Islamists have traveled from the European Union to fight with
they can
ISIS.
Come back.
Some of those individuals are returning, yes.
Yeah,
certainly many of them have come back.
This is a pretty big
Europe.
difference, because if you fight for ISIS or even contact ISIS here in the United States, that's a felony. They pop you. You're arrested. You're put in jail. But I don't know if it's the same thing in Britain, is it?
Well, we certainly do need to see far tougher measures in place in the UK and across Europe. There's a massive threat to security across
Yeah, I don't know what the
Europe
law is in Britain about hanging out with ISIS, but here in the United States, you get serious jail time if they can prove that. Now, I was in France this summer, and where I was in northern France, people are seething. There's a tremendous anti-Muslim sentiment there among the folks. Is it the same way in Britain?
I think that in the United Kingdom, certainly there is deep-seated concern over the spread of Islamic radicalism across the country. You have certainly pockets of Islamic extremism in many of Britain's biggest cities, including London, Birmingham, for example. But I think that this is a generational conflict that Britain will have to wage against the Islamists. I think that what you're seeing in France, Britain, Germany, and other European cities is the shape of things to come, unless governments are willing to fight the Islamists at home and abroad, and emphatically, of course, crush the ISIS and Al-Qaeda threat. So the stakes are extremely high. This is a battle, really, to defend our civilization against the forces of barbarism.
Is Great Britain fighting that battle effectively enough? I mean, there's a lot of cells, as you say, a lot of radical cells. Here in the USA, not so many.
Yeah, I think that certainly the British authorities are doing all they can at this time, but we do need stronger border control, and we do need to fight the enemy at home and abroad and defeat them.
Doctor, thank you.